What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp. Welcome to Fightful. Here with a name you know. You used to know her as Sonya Deville. Now you know her as Daria Berenato. Daria, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. The last time we did an interview, I'm going to pull up this picture.
Oh my
Look at
gosh.
these. Look at these children here.
Shut up.
Look at these
Who
children in front of that
who
beautiful.
looks who looks more different? Me or
Oh,
you?
me. I've got a man bun up there.
It was a
I've
good
got
man bun though.
I was proud of it, but in front of that beautiful skyline in Toronto,
I remember that interview.
that was a good media day. Like, that was one of the more creative ones they've
Yeah.
ever set up. But man, it's wild to look back at that because I remember I was asking you, I was poking around about MMA back then, and now here we are in 2025 talking about Invicta FC 62. They are back in Kansas City where they've called home for, quite frankly, forever, on May 16th at the Lex. Longtime MMA fans will see Milana Dudieva, who, quite frankly, looks like a pro wrestler in her own right. Deanna Bennett,
Yeah.
Katarina Leaner, who's been a part of Power Slap against Olga Rubin. Lots of good stuff going on there at Invicta. But how's it feeling being back in the MMA sphere again after so many years?
As cliche as this sounds, it really feels like I'm coming back home. MMA, I had 3 amateur fights. I was just kinda getting my feet wet when I signed with WWE, but I had been training since I was 15, 16 years old, and that was kind of the first dream. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to fight MMA and I wanted to act, and so I found WWE, and it was a great 10 years, but it kind of feels very nostalgic, very full circle, very close to my heart to kind of be going back to where I started.
So when you did that, when you got brought on with Tough Enough, you were very active in MMA. You had just taken, I think, back to back to back. It looked like almost 3 amateur fights. How was that? I mean, it seemed like you were gearing up as a potential career.
Yeah, no, it was the full plan was for it to be my career. I was obviously bartending to pay the bills as we do out in LA, and I was in love with it. It was my whole world. I identified as an MMA fighter, and then out of nowhere, a friend of mine, Maria Menounos,
Mhm.
called me and was like, "There's this show, Tough Enough. They wanted me to do it, but I was like, oh God, no, but I have the perfect girl." And I was like, "Well, what is it?" And she was like, "Well, it's a competition reality show." And I was like, "All right, well, that sounds like something I'm interested in." I didn't know much about wrestling, aside from The Rock and John Cena. And so I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll take this opportunity." And so one thing led to another. That was 10 years ago now. But I really had this kind of weird moment where I had to decide. I had a amateur title shot scheduled for the organization that I had fought for prior, and I had to choose between Tough Enough and the amateur fight. And it came down to my coaches being like, "You're stupid if you don't go do this opportunity. You can always come back to MMA." And obviously, as you saw play out, one thing led to another, and I ended up 10 years at WWE. So I think that's why it feels extra special. It wasn't easy when I left it, but is very exciting coming back.
I remember you also doing UFC stuff on AfterBuzz too, though. Like, you had competed in MMA, you had already been on screen by the time you were on Tough Enough, then went to WWE, and now you're serving as somewhat of an ambassador. It seems like these things have like flowed into one another very, very well for you.
Yeah, I'm like a really big believer in like the universe, and trusting the process and where life takes you. And if you put in the work and if you manifest enough, I feel like things will align how they should, and patience is obviously part of that. And so, yeah, I feel like it happened very organically. I loved my 10 years wrestling, and now I'm excited to be on the other side of that, and I'm excited to be able to be back in the driver's seat and do all the things that I've wanted to do for so long.
You say you were happy with your 10 years of wrestling. Does that mean you closed the door, or you're just kind of seeing where life takes you in that sense?
I'm very much living in a state of flow right now. So I'm not
Okay.
closing any doors. I'm quite enjoying the beginning of chapter 2 over here, as I like to call it. And I'm not saying never to anything. I think that I will say this: my body and mine feels the best that it has maybe ever. I feel stronger than I ever have. I feel like I don't know if I was a late bloomer, but like I feel more athletic than I ever was. I feel really good. So I feel like anything is kind of up in the air right now.
So you're in that unique position of, do I want to capitalize on that, or do I also want to throw my body at the ground repeatedly multiple times in a week and maybe not feel nearly as good afterwards as well? But how did the Invicta thing come about? Because as soon as it happened, I was like, "Man, she is a perfect ambassador for that brand that I've watched forever." Eventual WWE talent like Jessamine Duke fought there as well. Like
Yep.
back in the day, like they have held host to many stars.
So I was very aware of Invicta when I was a fighter. Obviously, being a female fighter coming up 10 years ago, a dream of mine was to fight for Invicta. I actually went to an Invicta FC card maybe like 11, 12 years ago now, like right when it first started out in LA. And I remember being like, I want to fight here. So it's very, very close to home. And it started really organically. Me and Shannon Knapp followed each other on social media the way that that happens now in this world, and we had a conversation that led to more conversations, and we felt like we really just aligned on a lot of things. And um I'm kind of here to be somewhere where I feel I'm pursuing something that I'm passionate and I care about, and b to hopefully help in any way that I can. And also learn from people like Megan Anderson and Julie Kenzie, who I'm fortunate enough to be sitting alongside this Friday.
I think it would have been really interesting because, like, you would have probably lined up around the time, had you not went to WWE, around the time they did like women's Ultimate Fighter, that had so many people from Invicta on it, like Roxanne Modafferi, and of course Shayna and Jessamine, who I
Shayna,
mentioned, who became
yeah.
WWE talent. Like, was that ever in your mind? I know that that was sort of just a concept at that point. Like, oh, will they ever do one? But I mean, that seems like something that would have been natural to you considering, you did so well and Tough Enough.
Yeah, I had every intention of being, it's easier to say in hindsight, obviously, but I had every intention of
Sure.
being successful in MMA. It was my entire life. I was committed. I mean, I was waking up at 6 a.m. with my boxing coach for 2 hours, then going to team training, then sparring. I was in it. And so I had every intention of continuing and pursuing that path until Tough Enough came in my path, and, I went a different route. But yeah, I was watching that season of Tough Enough probably while I was in NXT. Was that the time period?
Yeah, would have been that
Yeah,
time period.
I watched and every one since, until recent, until I got too much in the thick of things and kind of fell off watching. But yeah, no, I 100% had planned on going that route.
One thing I always tell people about Invicta, like, if you look back at that period that you were saying, it's like a who's who of people who became stars in MMA, Joanne Calderwood, Tisha Torres, on any given show that they do. So even if you don't know some of the names that pop up on Invicta, you're more than likely going to know who they are eventually. I'm always interested, once you got to NXT WWE, did you happen to do any training with any other talent that were there? I would sometimes hear people that would be like, yeah, I laid off of that once I got into WWE. And then others were like, yeah, but sometimes people will test me in the ring like for fun. Like Chad Gable gets that a lot, where people will just shoot a leg dive on him and he's like got to show them who he is. Did you ever experience either of that, whether it be training or just maybe having some fun at a live event in a ring?
Yeah, so when I first started, obviously my character was predominantly built around mixed martial arts and, cornrowing the hair and the Muay Thai skirt and everything. And so it was heavily a part of my arsenal and all I really knew at the time. I remember doing like these shoot style drills in Sarah Amato's class. Sarah Stock and Sarah Amato were coaching the class. And we would do like, the person goes on all fours and you just have to like shoot on them and try to take them down and like shoot pin them. And that was like my bread and butter. I loved stuff like that. So yeah, I was having so much fun. And then I remember when Shayna, Jessamine, Marina, and Rhonda got signed, they would come to the PC, and me and Mandy were actually taking bumps for them. I remember teaching Rhonda a clothesline and taking bumps for her. And I was like, "Can we roll around?" And she was like, "Yeah." And so I got to roll around and shoot with Rhonda, also Shayna. Obviously, they both kicked my ass. I'm a blue belt over here in BJJ, but it was really cool and really fun.
How was the conversation with your wonderful wife about starting a show? Was this something that you guys had discussed beforehand? Because you guys were right on the ball with that.
So it was already in the works. We were going to
Okay.
do it. Um, While I was in WWE, we're just gonna do it a little bit differently because obviously there's a lot of restrictions and certain things you can't do while you're in WWE. And so we were gonna just kind of make it like a fun like Instagram show. Which I don't know if that's even a thing, but that's what we were going to do. So we had already built out the podcast studio in our house. And then when they didn't renew my contract, we were like, oh, well, the time is definitely now. But it was already going to be launching like a week later. So ironically, that's how the timing worked out. But yeah, it was already in the works.
One of the things that you said on the show that I loved, you were like, I'd be open to doing like a real estate show, like flipping houses. I love that stuff. Like anything besides wrestling that I can watch, I'm good for.
Yeah.
I would love to hear like what kind of real estate show would like be in your alley? Like we've seen the like the fixer uppers of the world, the property brothers, all that. How
Yeah.
would that go for you all?
Well, if you're looking at our track record, it would be buying shitholes and making them pretty, which is what my
That's
wife is at.
amazing.
It's so, to be honest, like if you want to talk about one of my true passions in life and it's not fancy or shiny, but real estate, I'm like obsessed. I started investing like maybe 8 years ago, and I've been doing that ever since. And me and my wife is like a connoisseur for interior design. Like she's incredible. Our house, people see it on my Instagram and they'll DM me and be like, "Oh my God, I love those picture frames," or "I love that wall molding." Like my wife does it all. Um, Everything from, we demo ourselves, like we go in there and actually put boots on the ground. So we buy shitholes and we make them pretty. We have one building that was built in like the 1700s that's like
Oh,
probably gonna fall down on us at some point, but like we went in, made it beautiful. It's apartments now and a cute little bakery in the storefront. So yeah, we have a lot of fun. I think it would be us probably finding the properties that people would be like, do not buy this place. Like, at first when I was investing, I would, I'd be like, oh my God, there's mold. And now I'm like, oh, there's only mold and termites. Oh, that's easy. Like you get so scared off at first and then you realize that anything is fixable. So I like seeing things go from really ugly to really pretty. And like I said, my wife's like at the forefront there of making that happen.
yeah.
So that's what it would be about, I think.
The house I was in before this is like 160 years old. So like not nowhere near 1700s, but it can be so frustrating but so rewarding when you
Yeah.
finally get that done. And
No,
that was with me with no education on how to do it, like trying to
same.
patchwork things myself. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you learn as you go. I'm like a firm believer in anything. Like I learn by doing. Like I just gotta fail. Just let me go in there. Let me build walls wrong. Like let them fall down on my head. Like let me get electrocuted. I don't know. I just need to like go in there and fail, and then I'll figure it out. I can't like read a book.
I mean, just you all tearing through stuff with a sledgehammer, I think would be good video content on
We have
Unwrapped.
so much fun. Literally, we have so much fun. We should obviously document it more. People are always, my agent's always like, why don't you, when you're at the building and there's the roof's falling down, because I'll call him and tell him the stories. He's like, why aren't you documenting this? I'm like, I don't know. They didn't have my phone out. I'm just in the moment, getting slugged with water from the third floor. But
Something a lot of people were very happy to see was the return of Demandy's Donuts, which was a phenomenon for a while. People loved that, and you all brought back a new episode recently. How was that? I mean, I don't want to say reconnect. I don't know how often you speak with Mandy, but like you all brought
yeah.
the show back, which was great.
Yeah. Honestly, that was like the most everything. I feel like everything that happens that's meant to be just happened so organically, and that's kind of how Demandy's Donuts happened. We just loved food, and people were somehow fascinated that we ate donuts, and so we're like, let's make a donut show. And so yeah, we obviously met up in Vegas and had a reunion. It was so much fun. I forgot how much we laugh when we're together. Like I become like funnier when I'm around Mandy, and I think vice versa. And so she brings out the best of me. So we had a lot of fun, and we have some plans coming up this summer because we don't live too far from each
Okay.
other when she's at her summer house. So yeah, so we'll see.
I know also during the era that you all were feuding, that it was vaguely around the time when Raw Underground was happening as well.
Yes.
And I was aching to see you get involved in that. Literally anybody with MMA experience, I was like, I can't wait to see them doing that. You never quite got to. Was that something that you ever pushed for, you were hoping for?
It was. You're right, though. The timing was a little weird because it was kind of like at the precipice of arguably my biggest rise and my biggest storyline. So uh me and Mandy could have gone at it in Raw Underground. I thought that would have been cool because we were having a lot of these brawl style pull aparts. And so yeah, I definitely wanted an opportunity there. I would have loved to have done something with Shayna at some point. There's a lot of things that um I would have still loved to do, but that storyline was one of my favorites. So it panned out fine.
Not to push you in a certain direction, but I'm just saying Bloodsport's awful fun to watch. I feel like you would transition very well. I think
We'll
that could be good.
see.
Shayna's gonna be available. I'm just saying,
You
be a
matchmaking
lot of
right now?
be a lot of fun to see. I would love it. Listen, Josh Barnett, I'm doing your work for you, buddy. But you also did like GM work as well, and you were phenomenal at it. Is that something you would be open to in the future? Because I know that approaching that's a lot different than approaching, well, I'm going to get ready and do in-ring work as well, or fighting in a cage.
Honestly, like all three equally intrigue me right now. And it's
Okay.
more so just like enjoying the moments right now. Like I'm not in a rush to do any one thing. I really like what I have going on with Invicta. And when I came back from Invicta 61, I was like a different person. My wife was like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you smile like this in so long. Like I can tell you're really like in your groove and you're enjoying what you're doing." And so I just want to see this through right now and kind of enjoy the path that I'm currently on and see what happens.
Yeah, after 10 years of you being on TV, I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, what now? What now? What now? But you did mention the last Invictus show. You said Invictus 61. The Emily Ducati knockout was phenomenal. Loved that. Loved
And I
that.
was
She's
sitting
back on
like
a roll.
incredible. And I'm sitting like at the cage. And mind you, all of the fights but one was a finish. Only one went to decision, I think. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like next to Shannon. I'm like grabbing Shannon. I'm like, holy shit. I like forgot A, how fun it is, and just B, how incredibly gifted these women are. Like I'm so excited to see these fights.
And then the one that went to decision was the title fight, Ferreira
Right.
retaining. But man, like what I loved about that show, like you can watch the prelims, by the way, guys, of Invicta on YouTube, main card on CBS Sports. Like you would see Bravo chokes, you would see like wrist locks, like anything, arm triangle, my favorite submission in existence on the prelims. Then you go up to the main card, and it was like knockout, knockout, knockout. There
So
was a
good.
lot of action. It was a lot of action. It was so much fun.
But that's how I always feel like you could count on Invicta for like good quality matchups. Like you're not going to be disappointed. There was no schmucks on that card. And these girls are fighting at such a higher level now, I feel like, than even when I first got into the game. Like everyone, like one of the girls on the card was on this card, Quinn Williams, I think. Like
Mhm.
she was wrestling when she was 4 years old, started MMA training. Like Ashley Barrett, that's one matchup that I'm actually really excited about is Ashley Barrett versus Quinn Williams. And these are like young girls that started MMA, Ashley started MMA young, wanted to be, I think, a fighter since 8th grade, looking up to Ronda Rousey. It's a different generation now. Like they're starting with these full mixed skill sets at such a younger age now. Whereas before, it was like maybe you grew up boxing and then you added in jujitsu later. You know what I mean? It's so different.
Oh, the number of people that became MMA stars because they took their kid to a jujitsu class and hung around. Like there were a lot of people that developed really great skill sets out of that. And like you said, now you're seeing people that were born into it that were like, you're probably going to be an MMA when you're older. Like you should
Right.
get these wrestling reps in.
So
You
good. It's such a good foundation. I wanted to be on the wrestling team in high school, true story. And they were like, no. And
mm,
'cause it was all guys, there was no girls at the time.
yeah.
And so I ended up, I was in three other sports, so it was fine. But yeah, having that foundation from such a young age, like what an additive.
Did you ever hear about how Jeff Hardy got kicked off his high school wrestling team because he did WWE?
No.
Yeah, he was in a WWE match, like, when he was 16. He lied about his age, and they're like, "Well, you are no longer an amateur since you did professional wrestling. You're not allowed to do amateur wrestling anymore." And they kicked him off his high school
What?
wrestling team.
That is
Yes.
so bizarre, but really
I
funny.
was more shocked that he did amateur wrestling. Like, that was that
Yeah.
was that was surprising to me, but,
I
world's
mean,
full of surprises.
yeah, one of the best wrestlers, but like his style was never like amateur style. So that's really funny.
Exactly. Like, I didn't see him, like, sprawling on,
Yeah.
Edge in their matches or anything like that, but, oh, man, I'm excited. Invicta FC 62, this weekend, May 16th. You can see it on CBS Sports Network, but you can catch the prelims always on YouTube for free. Daria, I hope that we speak again very soon. I wanna thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks, Sean. I'm excited, and I'll see you guys at Invicta on Friday night.
Guys, also make sure to check out Daria and Toni Unwrapped, their wonderful channel. We will link to it in the description below. Until next time, my friends, we're out. If you're a wrestling fan and you're frustrated with all the services you need to watch all the different wrestling shows, Fightful has your solution with nordvpn.com/Fightful. Change your virtual location with just one click, and you'll be able to watch Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and PLEs on one Netflix account. You'll also be able to get a lot of pay-per-views at a much more affordable price than you do here in the United States. This is a must-have for wrestling fans. That way you don't have to have 7 different accounts to watch all of the shows that you want to watch. In addition to that, they have a great 30-day money-back guarantee and an incredible deal right now going on. But that's far from it. You can protect yourself on their VPN service, the fastest in the world, shield your data from snoops and criminals, protect yourselves on public Wi-Fi, and it's available on all your devices and operating systems. NordVPN.com/Fightful.